Hey everyone, it's your boy Doc Williams, and today we're going to be talking about micro marketplaces. And we're going to look behind the scenes as we talk to the founder of Metafy, Josh, as he's growing this and building this company in public right now. So come with me. Before we get started, if you're interested in creating a profitable online business and you're trying to either create a brand or create a side hustle, make sure that you like and subscribe to this channel. Click that little bell and make sure that you get all the notifications of all the great videos that we put out. So make sure you do that. To begin, we're going to now shift our attention to looking at what it takes to create an online marketplace, and specifically one that really focuses on your niche. Now, the reason we're talking about this is it's important that instead of just trying to become the next Fiverr or Upwork, there's just so many opportunities for you to focus on a hobby or a piece of an industry that just isn't well served, such as esports, fly fishing, so many different types. And we already talked about the opportunities of this a little bit in the other video. There'll be a link or some kind of link below or something like that where you can look at that video. Today, what we're going to do is talk to a founder so you can see what it really takes. And today we're going to be interviewing Josh from Metafy. We're going to hear about his background and what he's doing to build in public and really take his business to the next level. As you're listening to what Josh is saying, think about for yourself, what can you be capitalizing in your business or your niche that you're seeing big businesses or huge corporations just missing it? They're just not getting it. I think you can take a lot away from this conversation, and all of those revelations, those tidbits, all those things, drop them in the comments down below. And we are back. This is Doc Williams with Build With Me, and we have the pleasure to be with who today?
What's up, everybody? I'm Josh from Metafy. We are building a platform that connects players that want to get better with the best players in the world across every game that has a skill curve that can be taught.
Good times. Thanks so much for being here, man.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
So today, this is going to be actually exclusive. This actually was before we started recording. It's just timing and all of these things. Josh, I didn't know you were in the trends community. Everything,
yeah.
40% of the things I do is usually tied to trends.co or something. So this is awesome to have you on the show, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to be here. It's good to be in a position where I can be here. More importantly, this is a dream.
Yeah, this is good. So before we get into what you have going on right now with this new startup, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me, let's go back. I heard a little bit of your interview that you were competitive and that you said, tell me all of this stuff. Tell me all of this stuff for the audience. Yeah,
man. I mean, I'm coming from humble beginnings, for me, it's as a teenager, I was repping Yu-Gi-Oh, the card game. My dad was driving me around the country, not because he wanted to or enjoyed it, just because he loved me. But I was playing at the national level, and I loved that. That was kind of the highlight of my teenage years. And that experience, playing that competitively, is something I've carried with me into my professional career, my adult career. So as an adult, I did okay in tech. I was at a startup. We got acquired by Groupon. I went on to be lead designer of Groupon stores. We hit 100 million GMV in 3 years, and they rewarded us with the sweetest gift you can give. They accelerated our vesting. And for me, that was my chance. I feel like, and I think most of the people in this community are going to know this, but I feel like when you're an entrepreneur, you just got this thing in your gut where no matter how much money you're making, no matter how good your career is, there's a certain point where you're just it's time to struggle. It's time to hurt for a little while again, to put something into the world that you're egotistical enough to think deserves to be there. And for me, I didn't know what that thing was, but I knew that I wanted to compete again. So I started playing this game, Clash Royale. It's for the mobile phone. And I was pretty good. I was pretty all right. So like for me, I was playing 8 hours a day, practicing, grinding. It wasn't even fun anymore. It was about winning. I had gone past fun just to hard work, and it paid off. I was top 20 in the world for about a year. I made some good money coaching. People would reach out saying, "Hey, Crucial," that was my game name. Can you teach me to do what you're doing in this game? And I didn't want to do it, so I charged them $100 an hour or 150 if it was the wrong day. And people would pay it, and then I'd do it on stream, and then they'd see that, and they'd want that to happen for them too, and it kind of snowballed from there. But at a certain point, my son got pretty sick, liver failure. We didn't know the reason. The doctors didn't know the reason, and that was a scary time for us. We were living at Children's Hospital for 3 months, and during that process, my kids found Pokemon, the trading card game. And that did it. That did it for them. That did them in. They got that competitive bug, just like their dad. And I reached out to the world champion of the prior year, and I said, "I know this is a little weird, but is there any chance I can pay you to teach my kids one-on-one to play this game?" Because I had that card game background. I could teach them the fundamentals, right? The overarching principles that are true for all card games. Like thinning and probability and playing, like who's on the defensive, who's on the offensive, those kind of concepts that carry through Magic and all these games. But I didn't know the meta. I didn't know what made the top players in Pokemon the top players for this set of cards, right? And I knew that changed on a cadence of month to month. But he answered. He said, "Josh, I could do it for $20 an hour." And that blew my mind. World champion, best in the world, you're going to do this for $20 an hour? I'm not even close to the best designer in the world, and I'm charging 4 times that. So for me, it was shocking, absolutely shocking. But that was the start of it. After a few $100s spent in coaching, I had to ask him, are you doing this for a living? Is this your job? And what he said is the reason we started this in the first place. He said, "No. I make $30,000 a year working in a warehouse. He's the best in the world. He's put hundreds of hours into refining his craft, into mastering this game. And every time a new set of cards comes out every month, he's now doing it again to stay on top. And all of that to be working in a warehouse, to be threatened by automation. So for me, it was just like, is this the same in other games? Does this carry through across other things? And it does. And that's kind of why we wanted to start this, to kind of get them off the hamster wheel.
Oh, Josh, this is a great story. I love to hear this. And I'm glad that, I heard in the interview your son is doing this, so he's recovered, right? He's doing well.
So my son's good. My boys are, my 2 older boys are both top 100 in the world in Pokemon. So they are playing at the highest level. They've achieved more than I have, and they did it at 10 and 9.
So you know what I love? Oh my goodness. I love this story so much. So many different layers to this. First of all, I would just like to say, as a throwback, my first business was selling trading cards. I had a Charizard. I had the first edition, sold it for 100 in 7th grade. I should have kept that bad boy. I still talk about it. I looked up the price. I don't want to even talk about it. And you know what?
Dude.
Oh, God.
Listen to this. When I was probably my son's age, probably like 10 or 11, I had a Charizard. And I was so geeked, right? I was like, I got the most powerful guy in the game, I didn't play the card game. I didn't know how to play, but I knew how to collect, I took that to a card shop. It's no longer exists. It was in a small town that I lived in called Jerry's Card Shop. I went in there thinking like I'm king of the world. And he said, "I'll give you this official Pokemon binder in exchange for that card."
Oh,
and I took that deal.
No,
that man ripped me off.
Oh, I
still think about it.
Let me tell you something. The adults in this world, how does he sleep at night? Okay, that is
for real.
And how
I'm
many
glad
other
he went out of business?
How many other kids did he do that to? Like, that's cold-blooded. That means you've done it so many times and flipped so much money. It's ridiculous. I sold mine for 100, and in seventh grade, 100. I was like, bro, like, no
you're
joke.
The world with $100.
Let me tell you something. Not even just, randomly, I ended up. Now this sounds like I was a drug dealer. I ended up in Mexico a month later with my sister. If I had $100 as a child and $100 in Mexico, no joke.
Yeah,
I went
that's
crazy.
it. That's royalty.
It was. And so I was paying for people's meals. It was just out of control.
You're stunting.
So this is great to hear. The reason I reached out to you, many different reasons, but what you were just talking about, where you're finding world-class champions making nubbins, this is a story that I kept seeing again and again and again over the landscape of Twitch. And so many ones were trying to learn how to stream or show their talent or show a personality, and they weren't thinking about their revenue streams. They weren't thinking about making this a business. So tell me a little bit about, after having that revelation, seeing what this coach is doing, what was your path and thought process to get to the next level, to try this out, to build that MVP for what you were obviously clearly seeing in the market and what it needed?
Yeah. I'm sorry, give me 1 second.
No worries.
I'm blowing up on Discord. So I'm a product guy, right? My entire career has been around product design and optimization. So when you have that experience, you kind of look at the world through a lens of solving problems. And when you're an entrepreneur, you look at the world through a lens of taking advantage of problems, fixing those pain points. So I looked at it in the same way that I think most people watching this video would look at it, right? Here's a clear problem that I am big-headed enough to think that I can solve. So for me, it was a matter of, okay, well, who's doing it, right? If it's really a good idea, someone else is already trying it. And when I look around and I see who's doing it, it's a question of how well are they executing, right? How well are they approaching the problem compared to how I would approach the problem? And when I looked around, I saw a couple people trailblazing. I saw a couple people that were kind of fumbling around in the dark trying to figure it out, but I didn't see anyone that was executing incredibly well. So for me, that was step one, right? No one's executing here. So I can compete, right? I can go with no money and compete here. And that was the first step. And the next step was, even though I have the experience of playing at a high level, I have the experience of my kids learning to play at a high level from nothing, from not even knowing how to read, into learning to play at a high level. All of that experience combined with the experience of building products at scale, that's not enough, right? Because I'm still working on gut experience here. I'm still thinking with my gut, and I don't like that. So the next step was really finding people that were already doing this for a living and becoming their best friend, right? Saying to them, hey, can I sit on every call you're on for this day for 12 hours and be in every one of you to take notes for what you're doing and how you're doing it like a psychopath? And I found a few people that were like, yeah, you can do that, you weirdo. And I paid them. I paid them for that time. But I feel like if you don't know your customers intimately, right? If you don't know their problems like it's the back of your hand, if you're not thinking about that when you're going to bed at night, you're going to have a hard time solving those problems, like really solving those problems. So that was the first step for me, was I want to understand these coaches' issues as well as they understand them. I want to understand them better than they do. So that whenever we are providing solutions, it's not a matter of, hey, what do you want? It's a matter of, hey, here's what you need, And that's what we were really working towards initially, was just really understanding what it is we needed to build.
That's awesome. That's awesome. As first of all, and we'll definitely have all the links to the site below and everything. What jumped out to me was, just like you were talking about, you're a product guy. I was like, oh, this feels different. This looks different. This is not just. Am I allowed to drop like competitors' names so they can see the difference? Do you want me to?
Yeah.
So to me,
yeah.
we were talking
put them on blast.
So we were talking about this before. I saw the same problem about 2015, but I remember when Gamer Sensei got their funding, the first round. But I was like, when I saw Gamer Sensei, I was like, they got all this round of money, and like, it doesn't look good. This doesn't feel good. This looks like it's bootstrapped. How did they get VC funding and it
Yeah.
looks or feels this clunky with the user face,
Yeah.
the onboarding and everything like that. And then because I was like, you know what, I bet I could bootstrap this if I had if I use Zapier, use some
Yeah.
pulled it with an API call with the Zoom, integrate it, have different people's Calendly links. I was like, it almost is
Yeah.
pretty much this. What's going on? And then I saw your site and I was like, I couldn't have done that because the interface looks so good,
Right.
and everything
I
like that. I
appreciate
was like, and that's when I reached out to you. I was like, oh, instantly, I gotta talk to him. Like I didn't even know your full background, but I was like, he gets design. This look and feels totally different. And even though I noticed, even when you're onboarding, and this is in beta, still using Typeform, using minimalist, but I loved the interface as you're onboarding. So tell me about, when you were thinking about just the feel of it, did you go through a couple different iterations, try other sites, see about, I like this, I don't like this? Did you talk to the coaches and say, hey, have you been on these other platforms? Are you teaching on Reddit, going from this? What was your thought process to build that onboarding and everything like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first and foremost, it's a matter of really trying to understand, did our competitors raise money with just a great pitch and there's no market here and they're failing as a result of it? Because when you look at Gamer Sensei, right? I do want to give them credit because they were first to market, and that's a hard place to be because you are operating blind. You don't know what works. You don't know what you don't know. And it's much easier to follow on. It's much easier to be second to market, third to market, because you can look at them and say, that's where they fucked up. And then you can look at what they did well and you can improve on that. So there's always an advantage to being first to market, of course, but I think there's also an advantage to following on and kind of improving there in the same way that Facebook did MySpace, right? That's a great example of that. So when I was looking at this, it really was a matter of, is there money here? And the more I talked to coaches and the more I saw coaches that were already doing this and making $80,000 a year doing it and saying where is it tough for you? Where's your problems at? And a lot of the times they don't know, right? They love what they do. They love the game, but these aren't business people. They're not trying to make an empire. They're just trying to do what they love. So they don't know how to market themselves. They don't know how to increase retention. They don't know how to get people back into the funnel, right? All these things that we all know and take for granted because shoved down our throats every day, they don't know because they're just playing games. So for me, it was a matter of, okay, well, let's think about that problem. Let's think about how we take what is essentially a marketplace where they're treated like products, and we treat them like business owners, right? We treat them like they're trying to build an empire. And that was the first step, right? In terms of communicating with them. And then for that onboarding, it's the same deal. And I think that where all these sites go wrong is they try to come at this as wide as they possibly can be. They want to have the biggest marketplace they can have day one, but they forget about brand equity, right? You've got to be focusing from day one on having the best people in the world because that's who you want to learn from, right? So for us, we're not trying to take every guy who's half decent and beats his buddies in the game. I want the legitimately best people in the world. And then the next problem there is, how do we take great players and turn them into great teachers, right? Which is another challenge in its own, and no one's paying attention to that. Everyone's saying, well, he did this, he has this achievement, and that's enough. And I think that's the problem is they're not approaching this like it's true education. They're not approaching this like jiu-jitsu players approach it. They're not approaching it like wrestlers approach it. So how do we do that? Treat it like real education, like you're really learning shit. And that's what we're thinking every step of the way. And that's how we focus on onboarding, right? It's intimate. It's rolling out the red carpet. And when you take that approach and you say, maybe one day we open this to everybody, but for now we're worried about brand equity, things kind of come into focus much easier.
Awesome, man. I've got so much. I'm writing notes. This is great to see. It's so interesting that you mentioned, because we talk about marketplace. We actually are coming out with another story coming out in about 2 weeks talking about micro marketplaces. It's actually piggybacking off of like what Etsy did and how they acquired another very niche marketplace, and how there's so many different intricate marketplaces there are micro ones. The thing that I was about to ask you, but I was thinking about supply and demand. I'm like, all games, what are you doing? But what you just talked about, the quality of players, obviously you're being able to be very selective. So that supplies that, now that brand equity now becomes laser focused, and now you're picking the best. Now you're going to be iconic, having those coaches. And then now that allows you to attract the right kind of demand on the other side of the marketplace. This is interesting. So let me ask this. As you're thinking about the tiers of different teaching, coaching strategies, how to be better teachers, coaches, all those things. Are you looking at other methodology around different other fields of how people are learning? What's your thought process of how you're going to emulate and teach coaches how to be better for their students and everything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at the science of what makes expert level performers. And here's the thing: at the end of the day, the way the human brain is working isn't different because you're playing a game versus playing tennis, right? The brain is working in the same way. So for us, it's really a matter of how did LeBron get to where he is, right? Was he just born that way? But we know he wasn't. He wasn't born that way, right? We know the data is there, the science is there, and it's the same where we know that for almost every world level anything. I'm freezing up. My bad. Sorry about that.
No worries. I got you.
I'm using my phone as my webcam, and when I get a call, it freezes me.
No worries. Hey, man, dude, if my phone ever looked a fraction as that good, you're doing fine. You're doing fine.
Anyway, what I was saying was, when we look at how these expert level performers in anything from music to sports to chess, to even memorization, it's all the same. And it always happens in the same way. And there's a lot of research. For anyone listening that cares deeply about this, I'd recommend looking at Talent is Overrated. It's an incredible book. And then more importantly, I think the better version of that book is Peak, written by Anders Ericsson. Both these books go into that science of that. And the science is very clear in really people aren't born that good, right? You got to put the time in. And generally how it happens is it starts at a young age, and it starts with fun. And then fun turns into work, and work turns into plateaus, and plateaus are broken through with coaches. So that transition matters, but you don't have to be a expert level educator to do coaching, but you've got to help people become self-aware. That's what coaching is all about. You got to be able to help them say, here's where I'm weak, and here's how I get past that. So for us, a big part of that is, well, how do we get them there? How do we get these great players to tell these students that? And we're really focusing on taking that science and distilling it into design, because it's part of change behavior, But if we can kind of guide them, hold their hand a little bit, we can make sure that we're seeing progression, in a way that's uniform across every game.
That's awesome. That's great to see, man. I was writing this down. There's two things that came to mind. It was a book called Deep Work. And when you were talking about just designing, there's a part in Deep Work, I believe it was in that book. He wrote several others, but it was talking about how different students learned how to play complex music, and how the steady, most people, just try to play as much as you can, but it's really learning the correct one, doing the right coordination, and then speeding it up. And I was like, oh, that's right. As a child, when I had bad teachers, it would just be like, go as far as you can, like crap, go start over again. But I was like, that makes so much sense. Makes sense with typing, makes sense on all these other things. So I'm really excited to see this as you're going to be teaching other coaches how to be better coaches and business owners. I was thinking about this as we were talking about this marketplace idea, and I even think about like how Twitch got started, how they, distilled down into video games. When you're thinking about all these games, and of course you're early on, so I'm not expecting you to be like, tell me what's the trends.
Right.
Are you thinking in the path of we'll open up games and then you'll be able to see the split of what kind of games of certain types and then kind of whittle down from there? Or do you want to endeavor to be, hey, any type of competition will just go and open it up? How have you thought about that and going that way?
Yeah, I mean, our big deal, our big thing is every game, and for us, it's not a matter of is this an esport, right? It's a matter of, is there something to learn here? Can you, if you learn something from somebody that put more time in, is it going to help you beat your friend's ass who beat you last time? Or is it going to get you further in that single player game where you've been struggling? So in a lot of ways, we're thinking about this from the coach side, of course. But when we think about single player games, we're thinking about courses, right? So if you think about games like Ghost of Tsushima or these Dark Souls style games where they're very difficult, you've got speedrunners who are the best in the world at these games. If you could go in, pay one subscription to have courses from the best in the world across every game, single player, multiplayer, you name it, that's amazing. That's what I want to exist. And it's the same with like Fall Guys, right? There could be a course for Fall Guys where we break down every level and the best way to approach that level. Coaching doesn't make as much sense there, but courses do.
I love it. I love it. I'm just thinking, so I have two older siblings, and when I was growing up, I was never allowed to play at all. Or they allowed me to play until I died quickly, and then they would just keep playing. And
yeah, they hand you that control that's unplugged.
Oh yeah, it used to be plugged into the sofa all the time. My parents were like, you gotta stop doing that, Tim. You gotta stop doing it. And I just think about this because actually my wife plays games. I love either coaching or talking about games. I do not have the skill, nor do I have the aspirations to do that long term. But I just think about, like you were talking about, single person. I was thinking about my wife for like 4 months straight. She played like The Long Dark for like 5 hours a day. I'm not sure if you ever see it's a Steve. Yeah. It's just nonstop in Alaska. And I was just like, why don't you look at maps? Why don't you do all this stuff? And she ended up in this dark web of subreddits of everyone posting like, this is where I'm at. Yeah. People's got real maps of Alaska. I'm like, my God, like this is insane. Like what people are doing for this game. And I think about Long Dark and I think about League of Legends, where I'm not sure if you watch League of Legends or some of the casters. I follow the coaches or the casters a lot because I'm interested how they make money and just going that route. But LS, who casts in the LCK in the Korean circuit, he is the like prototype. I'm like, if people understand what he's doing, he's casting, he's coaching, he has Patreon, and he's doing one-on-ones. And I was like, he needs to do courses. He needs to do courses. He needs to do courses with those things. So when you were talking about courses, when I heard you speak, I was like, this is the first time I've heard someone understand the multiple streams of revenue for these coaches in gaming, which I really think it can just untap this. So, dude, I just want to say I'm super excited to hear about your journey and everything about it. So before we go or end this recording, tell us. We're trying something new at Trends. We're trying something new with these interviews. I want to hear where you are right now, your struggles, what you're going to be doing with your company, and then I want to come back and revisit and see how you are and everything. So tell me where you're at, or what you're struggling with, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, so for us right now, my biggest struggle personally is a very fortunate one, so we're raising a round of funding right now, but we're oversubscribed, right? We got more money coming in than we can take. So that's a good problem to have, but it's still tough, right? Because I'm still on these calls all day and it's taking me away from building product. But that leads into my next problem, which is hiring, right? To do a lot of the things we want to do, we need people that are great. We need people that are the best at what they do, and people that really give a shit about what we're doing. It has to be the comp. You can't be one or the other. It has to be both. And for us, like, I guess for me to throw that out there, if you're a back-end engineer and you're looking for work where you're gonna be paid competitively, you're gonna get equity, and you want to tear shit up in this industry, talk to me. If you're on growth, talk to me. If you're a content strategist, talk to me. But those are all things we're hiring for actively. As we move further into the year, we're gonna be hiring people on curriculum. Because again, like when we're talking about courses, we're not building the courses for them. We're giving them the tools to build incredible courses, but we also want a curriculum team available to help guide them and kind of, again, distill that knowledge they have into actionable bite-sized pieces so that you can watch the video, get back to the game, and kick your friend's ass. So that's our big challenge now. Of course, there's the challenge of, just building a good product. And of course, there's the challenge of getting a hold of those top players in the world. But for us, where I'm in a very lucky position because I played at the top. I know a lot of these top players. I know a lot of the people in these teams. So these discussions are easier for me because they know I'm not just full of shit. They know I'm not just coming in trying to take advantage of the industry. These are my people. So I guess that's kind of where we're at. I would love to come back, hopefully with good news next time. We're very early. We've only been building for about a month. But that said, in that month, Gamer Sensei, I'm talking to you, we've hit feature parity. Listen, if you guys are hustling, if you're building a product for 5 years and somebody comes into the space in 3 weeks and matches you, you're asleep at the wheel. You got to work harder. You got to want this more, or else someone's going to want it more than you and come take it. So
that's awesome.
That's where we're at. And I want to never be there, so I hope that my team puts my feet to the fire on that.
Oh man, Josh, no, this has been great. Super excited to see where we're going to be going, where you're going, and getting. No, this is great, seeing from the beginning. So, where can the good people find you at? And ones that are wanting to, you just mentioned who you're looking for. If they feel like they're the right fit, how can they reach you? All of that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. So my email is josh@metafy.gg. Of course, the site is metafy.gg, and then I am on Twitter, tweeting every day about what's going on with the business and my experience building it in public. And my Twitter handle is just Josh Fabian. So there you go. Looking forward to chatting. Even if like you don't have anything important to say and you just want to say, "Hey Josh, good luck," or "Hey Josh, this idea sucks," send me a message. I'd be happy to hear from you.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh, and we'll talk to you in the very near future. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you had an aha moment, make sure that you drop that in a comment down below. I would love to hear what you're going to be creating for your own industry. And remember, if you're interested in following what Metafy is doing, or if you're a coach and you want to be on the platform, make sure you go to their website. The link is down below, and make sure that you check out what Josh is doing and what his incredible team's up to right now. If you like this type of video, remember, make sure you give this a thumbs up and let us know what you want to hear about. And again, we'll see about if we can create another video based on your interests and what you need help with. We'll see you in the next video.